Hello and welcome to another episode of Worlds Collide. I'm your host Justin.
And I'm Mitch.
And today's episode is on X-men's Cyclops.
Leader of the X-Men, the first X-Men.
The first X-Men, Scott Summers.
Yeah.
So today we're going to take you through basically a breakdown of, where he got his origin, some extended issues of comic line,
pretty much a trajectory as to what brought him to what he is now, and also breaking down why I think Cyclops is a much better character than how he's been portrayed in movies and cartoons.
He's one of your personal favorites,
Yes.
is he not?
Yes.
Okay, so and that's saying something for the X-Men, right?
Yes.
Like, they go way back. What is it, 1963?
1963.
Okay, and that's when we first saw him in the very first issue, obviously, with, who was it, Beast?
Yep.
Iceman.
Yep.
And I want to say Jean.
Yep.
Was there one more?
There was one more.
Oh, you're putting me on here. And I don't know.
Angel.
I wouldn't have guessed that.
Yeah.
I would have got that wrong. Okay. Angel. Oh, wow. He's an oldie.
Yeah.
And was he always on the side of good?
Yes.
Until Apocalypse.
Until Apocalypse.
Well, I think Cyclops runs into him once or twice too.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about that later. Why don't you take us through the full episode breakdown today?
Alright, so yeah, I'm going to go over his publication history, a little bit of background on his character development, and then I'm going to go over his character biography after that, and just break down his evolution from the 60s to the current 2010s.
Yeah, because he's changed. He's always been the same character.
No.
But he's changed a lot.
He's changed a lot.
It's always been Scott Summers.
But yeah, it's always been,
Cyclops.
yeah. And his he hasn't been retconned like a lot of other characters. Like
No.
there was a couple of retcons, but not as severe as other characters. But one thing that you could say about Cyclops is that I think he's one of those characters that has had the most progression in his arc throughout the decades. He's evolved a lot.
Yes. I know you'll be able to touch base on that more, but I'd say his evolution as a leader
Yes.
is one of the main things that's changed.
Yes.
To the point where he knew that to lead, he doesn't even have to necessarily be there. But
Well,
he could set an example.
Well, yeah. Well,
So, something to be held to.
yes and
in
no.
a sense.
We'll get to that.
We'll get there.
Because not exactly. But we'll get to that. But yeah, so publication history. Like we said, he started off in X-Men issue number 1, 1963. And the first issue, he's already the leader of the X-Men.
Yep.
They're already a team, and they're facing Magneto on the first issue.
Yeah, they're pre-established. It's not origin. It's boom, right into the action. And here you go. Here's Scott leading.
That's right. So Stan Lee has gone on record saying that Cyclops and Beast are his two favorite X-Men.
Really?
Yeah. Because Stan Lee, he has think about like Spider-Man and Hulk and
The do-gooders.
Well, not do-gooders. They're tortured heroes.
Yeah.
Cyclops is a tortured hero because he can't control his power.
That's a good point. That's why he needs his, what are they,
Ruby
goggles?
Ruby quartz glasses.
Glasses, but it's like a visor.
Well, he also has the visors.
Oh, okay. You're talking about his OG glasses.
Yeah. Well, he has the glasses and he also has the visor because like his visor is
fight use.
Exactly. But yeah, so created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, amongst all the other like 1963, 62, 63
They tag
characters.
teamed a lot of those guys.
They did.
Yeah.
They did. Originally, he was named Slim Summers.
What?
Yeah, but then by issue 3, they renamed it Scott Summers, and Slim became his nickname.
Hey, Slim. So that's why Wolverine's always calling him Slim.
That's right. It's his nickname.
But no, I don't think anyone else calls him that.
No, there's people who call him Slim.
Oh, Rogue.
Yeah.
Rogue.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure Iceman calls him Slim once in a while.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a lame name, Slim
It is.
Summers.
It is. So, Cyclops stayed with the X-Men team until Uncanny X-Men. So, first the issue started off as X-Men, and then eventually got renamed to Uncanny X-Men, but kept the same numbering of X-Men. So, the title just became Uncanny X-Men.
Now, how many lines did it run for before we broke into Uncanny? Do we have a count?
That I do not know.
Okay.
I think it was like 90 something.
Yeah, they went for a long time before it broke into the uncanny. And what brought around the uncanny?
They had lost a lot of popularity because when they first started, they were like a teenage group, but they already had a teenage hero in Spider-Man. And then there's also the family dynamic, the family drama, but they already had the Fantastic Four. So
what's the family drama in X-Men?
Well, just like the four teenagers who are trying to get along. Cyclops having a crush on Jean Grey but doesn't say anything. Angel also have romantic feelings for Jean Grey, and
it's always Jean, huh?
Bobby being the youngest and having more to prove, and so there was a lot of like family
dynamics,
drama.
I gotcha.
Yeah, but they already had Fantastic Four, so they really didn't have anything unique, and they didn't really sell that much. So I think it was actually like issue 80 something. They started doing reprints of stories, and then they picked it back up in like issue 90 something, and that was Uncanny X-Men, and that's when it started
gained popularity again.
That's right, when they decided to. Different writers took over.
It was their new launch, essentially.
That's right.
Cool.
But yeah, by issue Uncanny X-Men issue number 138, Cyclops has been a member of the X-Men, and then he continued to make appearances up until issue number 201, where he left and joined X-Factor.
Oh, did he lead that team as well? Or?
Yes, because X-Factor is the original lineup of the X-Men. So
that's what I thought.
X-Factor issue number 1 was Cyclops, Jean Grey, Angel, and Iceman, and Beast.
Yeah, so
I forgot to mention Beast. Beast was also the original.
Yeah, so that got the full blown reset.
Yeah.
Because in Uncanny they brought in obviously Wolverine, a whole bunch of other people, Gambit.
Yeah. We'll go over that when I go over the biography of Cyclops, because that's actually really important.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, really important, actually.
How he integrated with all the new members of the team.
And that whole entire story, Krakoa and everything.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, God, we'll get to Krakoa.
Yeah. So he stayed with X-Factor up until 1991, and then that's when they brought X-Factor back into X-Men and named it X-Men Volume 2, Issue Number 1 in 1991. And that's when they started off with the X-Men Gold and Blue, where Cyclops was the leader of X-Men Gold and Storm was the leader of X-Men Blue.
Oh,
no, it was the opposite. It was Cyclops was the leader of X-Men Blue, Storm was the leader of X-Men Gold.
And they're two different groups?
Sort of, yeah. They're two different lines. So you had X-Men that had X-Men Blue, and you had Uncanny X-Men, which was X-Men Gold.
Oh.
Yeah.
Gets confusing.
Oh, yeah.
Nice. Good old comic.
Yeah. So, in the early 2000s, this came out in 2005.
Okay.
So, in 2005, Joss Whedon started a new series called The Astonishing X-Men.
Joss Whedon.
Yeah. I've read all of Joss Whedon's X-Men stories of the Astonishing X-Men, and it's by far my favorite writing of X-Men, which is why I really want to see Joss Whedon direct an X-Men movie. He did the X-Men so well. He understood Cyclops so well. I want him, like, when Marvel starts doing X-Men movies, I want Joss Whedon to direct an X-Men movie.
X-Men movies... I don't know why we haven't gotten, like, standalones.
You mean, like...
Other than Wolverine.
Yeah, well, they were going to. They're going to do an X-Men Origins Magneto after X-Men Origins Wolverine. But X-Men Origins Wolverine was such a disaster fire that they scrapped that whole entire
Forget
idea.
it. Yeah.
They were going to do a bunch of standalone origins of different characters.
Yeah.
But if they couldn't even do one on the most interesting character and the most popular character, how they're going to do it with all the less popular characters?
It's a good point you made. Now, Joss Whedon's pretty popular in terms of movies and shows.
Yeah.
What are some other things that we've probably seen him in that maybe we don't even know?
Okay, so Joss Whedon did Firefly,
mm-hmm.
And its movie successor, Serenity.
Yeah.
Joss Whedon is the one who brought in arguably one of the strongest females in TV, Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
That's pretty big, yeah.
Yeah, and the spinoff show Angel.
Okay.
Joss Whedon is the one who directed the movie. There was another series called Dollhouse, starring Lisa Dushku. Yeah. I couldn't get into that one.
I don't even know if I watched. I know the actress though.
Yeah. But that one got some good reviews, and he's the one who brought us Cabin in the Woods, which is a fantastic.
I love that movie.
Fantastic horror movie.
Probably one of my favorite horror movies.
Yeah,
it's like not horror thriller.
No, not even. It's more of a deconstruction of horror movies, really.
Yeah, behind the scenes kind of breakdown of what goes into a horror movie.
Yeah, more than people say that Scream is a deconstruction of horror movies. I think Cabin in the Woods is even more of a deconstruction of horror movies.
When you put it that way, yeah, I'd agree.
And then Joss Whedon did the Avengers movies.
Yeah, I was waiting for those. Those are probably some of his most well-known works.
That's right. That's right. So he's already proven his capabilities in making great characters, great stories, and he's already shown that he understands the X-Men so well. So I think it's just a no-brainer to have him do an X-Men movie.
You made a lot of valid points there. Like, why not?
Yeah.
If he can write this well, let's see how well he directs on the screen. With that, he's already got Avengers behind him.
Yeah.
Can't be bad.
So here's a quote that Joss Whedon says about his run on the X-Men.
Okay.
All right. And especially about Cyclops, because he did a lot of... This run of Astonishing X-Men did a lot of focus on Cyclops. So this is what he wrote. So that's what this arc is about. Cyclops has been the team leader and the team washout in terms of popularity. He was defined by Jean so much, and I just think that this guy is so interesting in his struggle against mediocrity.
Yeah, it's very true, because whenever I think of Scott, you instantly think Jean.
Yeah.
Which you should need to.
No.
Right? It's just how you've seen them in movies and
in cartoons. Even like the 90s cartoon, they made Cyclops such a pushover. Like, he was not a standout character. He was nobody's favorite.
No, and that's kind of my feeling with Cyclops. He's never been my favorite.
No.
He's always been the guy who's there and the guy who's supposed to be in charge and who, kind of takes lead, but is, shadowed by the bigger hitters like Wolverine, who's gruff and in your face.
Rogue and Gambit and
they're all big talkers and they're all quick to act, quick to talk.
And Beast with his intelligence and
Cyclops is always just dull in comparison. It's like, what are you bringing to the team other than uncontrollable optic ray blasts?
Yeah.
He's always, I don't know. He's never been a fan favorite of mine personally, but I can see that there's more to him.
Yeah. So
that's kind of what this episode's all about.
That's right. So he continues. Then, when it's all laid out in line, when you find out the thing that's been holding him back from being just a complete badass has been himself his entire life, that he's been lying to everyone and himself about who he is and what, and that should be freeing.
Yeah, because he basically comes from a family that shuns and hates on mutants, and he's lived his whole life.
No, he didn't even know his family. We'll get to that in his biography.
Oh.
He didn't even know his family. So, the Scott we're going to see is going to be a little bit different. This guy is either completely out of control or in control of something we're not used to. I wanted him to be an unabashed tough guy. He is shooting people and turning very much into a leader. Not everyone's going to like it. Yeah, shooting people. Straight up shooting people.
Oh, yeah, because at one point he goes around just killing people.
Like in this series, he actually loses his power and then grabs a gun and shoots people.
What?
Yeah.
To that extreme?
Yeah, like I said, you guys don't know Cyclops.
Yeah, okay. Fill me in, my man. There's a lot I must be missing on this badass hero.
Yes. All right, so his biography. Let's go into his biography.
Yeah.
So Cyclops... his origin was that he witnessed his parents die in a plane crash. They were in a plane. The plane, you find out later, was attacked by a Shi'ar spaceship. And then, so as the plane is crashing, Cyclops' parents puts him and his brother Alex in one of the chairs in a parachute or two parachutes. And chucks them out of the plane so that they could survive. There was only two parachutes, so Scott and Alex survived. as far as they know, their parents died in that plane crash. Cyclops' parachute catches fire and lands on the ground really hard, smashing his head, causing brain damage. It's said that brain damage is the reason why he can't control his power. But later on in this story, it was actually retconned to say that it wasn't really the brain damage that prevents him from controlling his power. It's himself. It's his own limitations.
His own self-hate and...
That's right.
Whatever. Now...
mental blocks, actually.
Now, is he not found by Mr. Sinister?
Sort of, yeah. So he grew up in an orphanage. So
him,
first of all...
his brother, they're separated, though, are they not?
That's right. So, yeah, so first of all, I didn't know this part. Before all this happened, they actually grew up in Alaska.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So he's
Anchorage, Alaska.
Not Canadian.
No.
Oh, so I always thought Cyclops was another Canadian character.
No. Wolverine and Deadpool are, but no, Cyclops is from Anchorage, Alaska. Yeah.
Interesting.
But anyways, so after this, they became orphans of the state, and they got separated and went to different orphanages. That's why, and Cyclops almost pretty much forgot about his brother. They both forgot about each other, kind of thing.
Well, they were so young.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, I thought I was with someone. Where'd he go?
Yeah.
Oh, whatever.
Yeah.
Parents are gone. I just came out of a plane and I'm barely alive.
Yeah.
I got other shit to focus on.
Well, the orphanage that Scott ended up living in was orphanage in Nebraska, where he was subject to batteries of tests and experiments by the owner, Mr. Milbury, who was actually Mr. Sinister.
Yes.
So Mr. Sinister knew about Cyclops, about Scott Summers, and knew that Scott Summers has this superior gene. This gene is the key to creating the most powerful mutant ever. You don't know that until later. All you know is that Mr. Sinister has some kind of obsession over Scott Summers. But that's why. He's trying to create the most powerful mutant. And honestly, he's trying to create this most powerful mutant to take out Apocalypse. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That's what Mr. Sinister is working towards.
That's right.
Now, he's immortal, is he not?
Yes. Thanks to Apocalypse. And his own genetic manipulation. We're going to have to do an episode on Mr. Sinister. I love him. He's a great villain.
I was going to say, I want an episode. So.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, he deserves it.
We shouldn't spoil too many details on him now. We just know that he's in control of the orphanage. He's the one who runs all these shitty tests on Scott.
That's right.
Making him kind of a tortured youth growing up.
That's
with
right.
Scars.
That's right. So, but when he was 16 years old, he was on a field trip to New York with one of the orphanage supervisors, and he was walking by a construction site, and that's when his power first manifested. So he ended up blasting this crane. This crane started falling towards the onlookers, and then he, with quick reaction, with quick intelligence, used his power again to destroy that crane before it killed anybody. But the crowd thought that this was an act of violence, so they quickly turned into a mob. So he got onto a train to run away, and he ends up getting found by some guy named Jack O'Diamonds.
Okay.
Yeah, and Jack O'Diamonds tries to recruit Cyclops as a thief, as a villain. But Cyclops, he wasn't going to do that, so he ended up fighting this Jack O'Diamonds. And then eventually, this is, I think, shortly after, that's when Xavier finds Cyclops.
Okay.
And recruits him to be the first member of his X-Men. Not before Xavier used his psychic abilities to wipe the minds of the onlookers, of everybody that Cyclops uses powers around, uses powers to make them forget about Cyclops.
That's pretty cool. So what is Jack O'Diamonds? Just a regular street thug? Yeah. Like no powers?
Yeah, I really don't know anything about him.
Perfect.
Yeah. But yeah. So Scott was found by Xavier.
And that's all later revealed in issues in which...
It was much later issues.
Uncanny X-Men or X-Factor? Or...
It spread out through many issues.
Cool.
Throughout years.
They give you little pieces of information kind of as we go along.
That's right. Cool. Cyclops will have like a flashback, and he'll have repeated flashbacks of his past, but from different perspectives, revealing different pieces of information about his past, kind of thing.
Cool.
Yeah.
So where does that bring us to once he joins the X-Men, apparently, as, well, he would be Xavier's first pupil?
That's right.
Does he then help Xavier travel around and track down the rest of them?
That's right. So cool. Jean was a second, I think, and then Beast, and then Angel, and then Iceman was the last one.
Cool.
In the early days, Scott did have a crush on Jean, but he didn't want to say anything because he was afraid of getting hurt, but he was also afraid of his powers hurting her. So he didn't want to get close to her. Plus, he didn't feel like he was a match for Warren Worthington, Angel, because Warren Worthington III is uber rich. So he didn't think that he stood a chance for Jean's affections when he's up against this uber rich, good looking Warren Worthington. But eventually, it was revealed that Jean had a crush on Cyclops, on Scott, and they do end up hooking up.
There we go.
Yeah.
There we go. Sparks.
Yeah. So during one of their adventures, that's when Cyclops, as the X-Men, Cyclops, they find Alex Summers, Cyclops' estranged brother.
Havoc.
That's right. Just as his powers start manifesting. And they end up recruiting him and becoming a member of the next member of the X-Men.
Oh, wow. Okay, so Havoc was one of the beginner stages, or
right.
he wasn't... He just wasn't featured in the original issues. But in later flashbacks, they show that he was part of the team somewhere there.
No. He was the first member to join the X-Men outside of the original 5.
Oh, okay, cool. He was number 6.
Yeah.
That's sweet.
Yeah. And then number 7 was Polaris.
Oh, no way. Magneto's daughter.
Yeah, which you don't know if she's Magneto's daughter until way later, but quite obvious.
I thought she was way younger.
No.
Like, I didn't think she could join the team at that point.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. So, and it was this team that ended up going to Krakoa. So they went on the mission and because Xavier found this power, this malevolent power, and they go on this island searching for this power. But it turns out this island, Krakoa, is the living entity, is the malevolent energy that Xavier found, and they got beat. They got beat and captured. The only one who made it out, who managed to escape, was Cyclops. So Cyclops ends up going back with meeting up with Xavier, and they end up training a new team of X-Men to go back and save the original team that got captured. So the new team is Storm, Colossus, Nightcrawler, Banshee, Thunderbird, Sunfire, and Wolverine.
Thunderbird we see on the one X-Men show. He's the native dude with the heightened reflexes and hearing and senses.
No, I think he's Warpath. He might be Thunderbird.
Oh, that might be Warpath.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's Warpath.
What can Thunderbird do again?
I don't quite remember. I think Thunderbird is just like invulnerability.
Okay.
Yeah. And super strength, I think.
You said Banshee, Nightcrawler, Colossus, Storm. You said Rogue?
No, Rogue is much later.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who was at the end of that list?
Wolverine.
Oh, Wolverine.
Yeah. So, but much years later, there was another story that reveals more information about what happened here. So, before this team, there was another team that they end up training to go and try and save the X-Men from Krakoa. This team was Cyclops' third brother, Vulcan, with what's his name? Darwin, the mutant who has the ability to adapt to any situation. Petra, who has the ability to control Earth. And I forgot the name of the other chick, but she had the ability to stop time. So this team, they were being trained by Moira McTaggart. And she didn't want Xavier to use these kids to go and save these X-Men. She wanted these kids to stay out of the violence.
And who's Moira again?
Moira McTaggart is, you see her in X-Men First Class, and you see her again, I think, in Days of Future Past.
I think so.
But Moira is a one-time love affair of Xavier.
That girl, okay, yeah.
Yeah. So, but anyways, this team goes to Krakoa, and they got their ass kicked so badly that they all died except for Vulcan and Darwin. If it wasn't for Darwin, Vulcan was going to die too, because they got swallowed by Krakoa, and then Darwin uses his adaptive ability to go into Vulcan, which gave Vulcan the ability to survive when Jean ends up throwing Krakoa into space.
Yeah, because they became living energy.
That's right.
Did they not?
That's right. Because Vulcan's ability, his mutant power, is control. He has control over any form of energy.
manipulate it, throw projections, throw sound,
redirect it. Yeah, he's really powerful.
Yeah. Now he was the third brother who did not escape the ship.
That's right. No, and he was. So you find out a Vulcan was actually raised in a Shi'ar, in a Shi'ar, and he was actually.
Oh, he was actually extracted from his mother after being murdered.
Right.
And held in an incubation chamber to speed up his growth, which they typically held for their slavers.
Yes.
And then when he was, let loose, he gained his powers.
Yeah.
Based on their tampering of him and his genetic DNA during his upbringing.
That's right.
Now,
and then he wound up on Earth.
I was just saying, how did that connection happen that he got to Xavier's mansion?
I don't quite remember how he made it back to Earth, but he finds his way back to Earth, and that's when he got found by Moira McTaggart and joined her.
Perfect. Okay.
So, but anyways, after that team failed, as far as Xavier is aware, they died. He couldn't sense them at all. So what Xavier, and this was traumatic to Cyclops because his brother, he just lost both his brothers.
So I just lost one team. I brought another team back, and they died. Lost them even worse.
He lost two of his brothers. So Xavier wiped Cyclops' memory of this ever happening, and Moira's too. He wiped everybody's memory of this ever happening, and then that's when they sent in the other team, the Nightcrawler team, to go and save the X-Men.
B/C team.
That's right. So years later, Cyclops finds out about this, that Xavier not only sent this team and they died, but he wiped the memory of it from everybody's mind. That was a big, big wedge in his relationship with Xavier.
Yeah, that's going to piss him off for a while. Like, that's not an easy, I'm sorry, man.
No,
by no means.
So, So after they got back from Krakoa, the original team of X-Men ended up splitting up because they have this new team of X-Men. So Iceman, Beast, Jean, Angel, they all decided, I think they wanted to try and live a normal life. But Cyclops could never live a normal life. So he stayed with Professor Xavier. And he's a big believer of Professor Xavier's mission. So he stayed on and became the leader of this new team of X-Men.
And who do we have under the list of the new team?
So that was the Nightcrawler.
He got back Polaris, and he got back...
I think Polaris left too. No, she might have stayed. I'm not too sure who stayed or left, but the original team, they all split up and Cyclops stayed.
Okay. So Wolverine and him stayed on the same team for a while?
Yeah.
Without Jean even there. That's interesting. You'd think they'd bicker more. I guess the bicker reason.
Actually, no, I think Jean must have stayed too, because this was when the Dark Phoenix started happening.
She must have stayed.
Yeah.
It must have been Beast who left. Iceman probably left. Angel.
Yeah.
Jean probably stayed.
Yeah, Jean probably would have stayed because that would have been during the Dark Phoenix saga. Yeah. Because the X Factor things happen after the Dark Phoenix stuff. So, during this time, this is when they meet the Starjammers as well. You don't find out until later that Corsair, the leader of the Starjammers, is actually Cyclops'
father.
Yeah. So you find out later on that his parents were actually teleported from the plane before it got destroyed and brought into slavery for the Shi'ar.
Yes.
And then Cyclops' mother ends up getting killed by the Baron, but not before she gave birth to Vulcan.
Yep. Well, she didn't give birth. He was extracted after she was killed, and they just sped up his incubation time.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was stillborn essentially.
Yeah. So after Jean's death, as the Phoenix, apparently Cyclops had a short romantic fling with Colleen Wing. And if that name sounds familiar to you, she was Iron Fist's love interest in the Iron Fist show. She's the one who becomes the new Iron Fist at the end of Iron Fist.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so Cyclops had a fling with Colleen Wing at one point. Yeah. Yeah.
So does Iron Fist cross over into the X-Men?
No, I don't think Colleen Wing had anything to do with Iron Fist at the time. Possibly, I don't know anything about Colleen Wing. I had no idea they had a relationship until I started doing this research.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did not know that.
But yeah, after Jean's death, though, he ends up meeting up with the Starjammers. This is when he found out that Corsair is his father, and then he finds out that he has surviving grandparents in Alaska that owns a shipping yard. So Cyclops retires from the X-Men. He didn't want to do this anymore. He lost the love of his life, and he decides that he's going to go to Alaska to meet his grandparents. He just found out are alive, so he goes.
Good news.
He goes to Alaska, and this is where he meets Madeline Pryor. And Madeline Pryor is a spitting image of Jean Grey. Sounds like her, looks exactly like her, and he doesn't understand why. But they meet, they end up falling in love. Cyclops and Madeline Pryor get married. She gets pregnant. So, like, he has an entire life with Madeline Pryor after the death of Jean Grey.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, how is she a spitting image of Jean?
They explain that later. I'll get to that because that's actually important.
Okay.
So, but yeah, so she ends up getting pregnant, and that baby is Nathan Summers, Cable.
Cable.
Yeah.
Cable's Cyclops' son.
You didn't know that?
I did not know that.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, and the son of Cyclops and Madeline Pryor.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. So
I think we've discussed this before. I just forgot.
Yeah.
Because they send him back in time to.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, but you don't find out until way, way, way later. But, okay, so while this is happening, the Avengers and Fantastic Four find this life pod in the bottom of at the bottom of some bay. It doesn't really matter. Oh, the Jamaican Bay. They found a life pod at the bottom of Jamaican Bay. This life pod had the body of Jean Grey in it. They end up discovering, and then they end up reviving her. Turns out the Dark Phoenix that they had fought was not actually Jean Grey. The Phoenix had put Jean Grey, the actual Jean Grey, into a life pod at the bottom of the ocean, bottom of Jamaican Bay, and then created a form of Jean Grey with the memories of Jean Grey and replaced Jean Grey up on the surface. So that was never the actual real Jean Grey that they fought. The Dark Phoenix was not the actual Jean Grey.
God.
Yeah. Yeah, the one that died, it was not Jean Grey. So this is how Jean Grey came back. Because they found her in this pod. When Cyclops finds out that Jean Grey is back, he leaves Madeline Pryor and his son to go be with Jean Grey again. Yeah, dick move.
Why did you do that, bro?
Yeah. Complete dick move.
You were over it. She was dead.
Yeah. Yeah, he leaves his wife, and I'm not too sure if she had given birth to Nathan yet or not. So he leaves her, and then they form X Factor. So that's Cyclops, Jean Grey, Iceman, Beast, and Angel. And Cyclops didn't do this without guilt. He felt guilt for what he did, but he needed to be with Jean, the love of his life.
Yeah, because he felt guilty. He's like, oh, I didn't keep looking for her.
That's right.
I thought she was dead, blah, blah, blah. So either way, he's going to feel guilty.
Yeah, well, yeah. And Madeline ended up joining the X-Men, but they end up abandoning her as well. So the grief of Cyclops abandoning her and the X-Men, she felt a lot of abandonment and whatnot. So she ends up making a deal with a couple of demons, and these demons give her like these uber powers, and she becomes the Goblin Queen and tries to exact revenge on Cyclops.
The Goblin Queen?
Yes. So this is when she finds out that she is actually a clone of Jean Grey. That's why she looked exactly like Jean Grey. Because the perfect mutant, the most powerful mutant, is a combination of Cyclops and Jean Grey. So he created a clone of Jean Grey to up the chances of Cyclops creating a spawn.
Who did this?
Mr. Sinister.
Oh my god, so he cloned Jean Grey?
That's right.
How?
He got a piece of her genetic material.
Oh, yeah, he's a fucking chemical wizard like that.
Yeah.
Bioengineer.
Yeah. So when Madeline Pryor found out about this, so she marries Cyclops, gives birth to a child. Cyclops leaves her for his ex, and then she finds out. Then she sacrifices her soul to demons, and then she finds out that she isn't even real. She was a clone of Cyclops' ex. It was too much for her, and she ended up taking her own life.
I understand.
So then Nathan came under the care of Jean Grey and Scott. And it was with the X Factor is when they end up fighting Apocalypse. And Apocalypse finds out about Nathan Summers because Nathan Summers is this most powerful mutant. Nathan Summers is the mutant that Mr. Sinister was trying to get created.
Yeah.
So Apocalypse finds out about him and decides that Nathan Summers is going to be the perfect host for him to transfer his essence to. So he kidnaps Nathan Summers and infects him with a techno-organic virus that's going to turn him into a robot, into a full machine.
Yeah.
So to save him, this is when they transport Rachel Summers, the daughter of Scott and Jean, came from the future to take Nathan and bring him into the future where they could cure him from the techno-organic virus.
But they left him with a robotic arm.
That's right. Well, lots of robotic stuff.
Oh, he has more than just the arm?
Oh, yeah. No, they never cured the techno-organic virus. So
it's slowed down just by his own psychic abilities.
That's right. He's constantly using his... When you see Cable in the Deadpool movie, when you see Cable in the comics...
He's always in pain.
No, not that he's always in pain. It's just that he's nerfed. Because he is...
Yes. He
is an Omega-level telekinetic and telepath. When I was doing research on it, I'm going to do an episode on Cable, but just so you know, his level of telekinesis is so powerful that he could split atoms around a wall, and then he could just walk through a wall because he was able to telekinetically control the atoms of that wall. Yeah, he's uber powerful.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, but he has to use all these powers to keep the techno-organic virus at bay from transforming into a full machine.
No, and it's still going.
That's right.
It's still winning little tiny bit by tiny bit. Like
as Cable progresses throughout the years, he becomes less and less powerful, and he becomes more and more robotic.
Yeah, and because it's just winning.
That's right. But yeah, so
there's a long progression chain for his children there.
That's right. So blah blah blah.
You got a lot of children going on there. I will be right back. One moment.
So there was another story where Apocalypse ends up trying to. There was a time period of Age of Apocalypse, and one of those characters is Nate Gray. So it's Nathan Summers Cable, but from an alternate reality, it's Cable without all the techno-organic virus. So he's like uber powerful and whatnot. Anyways, Apocalypse gets the idea to try and manipulate him, and to save him, Cyclops ends up merging himself with Apocalypse. This fucks with Cyclops' mind because now he's got this evil taint in him. This put a wedge between him and Jean, and that's why they end up separating, and Scott ends up starting a relationship with Emma Frost. So, for those of you that don't know who Emma Frost is,
she's another strong telepath.
She is. She's like Xavier level telepath.
I would say stronger.
Probably, maybe,
because she can turn
herself into diamond.
Yeah. Xavier's in a fucking wheelchair.
Well, yeah. But yeah, that's Emma Frost.
Yes. And we see her in X-Men Days of Future Past and First Class?
Just First Class.
Just First Class, yes. Okay. I think the fact that she can turn her whole body to diamonds is pretty damn powerful.
Yeah.
Like, it makes her damn near invulnerable.
Yeah.
And she can reflect a lot of things.
Yeah. So, that's when there started a wedge between Cyclops and Jean, and then Cyclops started having an affair with Emma. And they end up starting a relationship, and him and Jean started splitting up. Jean, at this point, was becoming more the Phoenix again. And then eventually, this led to a story with Zorn, Magneto as Zorn. And Jean ends up facing off against this Magneto Zorn, and that led to her actual death.
How'd they beat her?
It was Zorn that killed her. It was Magneto that killed her.
We covered Zorn. We talked about Zorn before, did we not?
When we talked about Magneto.
That's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah. So, but I didn't know about this part. So he ended up bombarding Jean Grey, Phoenix Jean Grey, with enough electromagnetic waves to kill her.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's all I had to do?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Easy kill. Easy takeout.
Yeah.
Phoenix didn't even come out.
Yeah. So, after that, House of M happens.
And what was Scott's role in the Magneto Zorn Jean? Was he just a bystander?
I think he was more of a bystander.
That's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, so after all this happens, House of M happens. So Scarlet Witch does her snap.
Her no more mutants.
That's right. leaving only 198 surviving mutants.
Yeah.
And that's when Astonishing X-Men pretty much picks up. Astonishing X-Men picks up shortly after House of M, and this is where Cyclops and Emma Frost ends up forming a new team of X-Men, and they are the headmasters of this new team of X-Men. It has Kitty Pryde, Colossus, Beast, Psylocke, Wolverine. Yeah.
All those dudes. Okay, cool.
Yeah. So this is an excellent story. In here, Cyclops ends up losing his powers. I was rereading some of the story. So the Hellfire Club ends up taking... there's a chick named Cassandra Nova. She's another powerful psychic. And she got captured and got put into this cocoon. And before that happened, she implanted a seed in Emma Frost that made Emma Frost start doubting herself and start experiencing survivor's guilt for all the things that she's done and all the teams that she's led and they've died and whatnot and all the failures.
Moral implication.
Yeah, so she ends up going crazy and ends up turning on the entire X-Men, turned Wolverine into a child, turned Beast into a savage, no-brain beast. Kitty Pryde ends up getting phased to the bottom of Earth, or like to the center of Earth. Colossus went up against Sebastian Shaw, and that's a no-win situation because Sebastian Shaw, his power is he absorbs kinetic energy. So Colossus is just beating up on Sebastian Shaw, and Sebastian Shaw at one point he absorbs so much kinetic energy he just bossed Colossus around the ears and KOs him. So.
Yeah, what did you expect to happen? You're just literally charging a battery that's going to zap you.
Yeah. So anyways, while this is all happening, Cyclops knows exactly what's happening. None of these are actually there. There was no Sebastian Shaw. There was no Cassandra Cain. There was no Hellfire Club. It was all in everybody's mind being created by Emma Frost. But it was Cassandra Nova forcing Emma Frost to do this because ultimately it was to use Kitty Pryde, her phasing power, to go into the box to take out the cocoon that Cassandra Cain was in. It was all a ploy to try and escape.
Yeah, this big manipulative plan.
But the reason why I talked about it is because when Cyclops knew that they were all imaginary, this is when he grabbed the gun and started shooting all these members of the Hellfire Club because he knows they're not real. But this is the first sign of Cyclops doing a change in his... So he was always a Boy Scout, but this right here, this story is one that really changed his arc, that started him down the path that he would eventually become.
Okay.
Because House of M limited the amount of mutants in the world. So Step one. So now they're on survival mode. So Cyclops now is the leader of the remaining. He sees himself as the remaining leader of the surviving mutants.
Yeah.
And so now he has to take a more extreme stance on how to protect these mutants. He no longer asks questions. He no longer debates. He does an order and does what needs to happen. He will do the hard call that'll save the most amount of mutant lives. He becomes increasingly more and more like Magneto as well. Becomes more of a dictator, more of a mutants first before humans, because survival mode once again.
Yep. When there's not many left, they got to do what they can to kind of save their numbers at this point.
Yep. Yeah, so all this led to the Avengers vs. X-Men. So if you guys watched our episode on Jean Grey, I talked about the Avengers vs. X-Men.
Yeah, that was back last season.
Yeah, so where Cyclops, Emma Frost, Colossus, Magik, and Namor all became the Phoenix Five.
Yes. And
then they end up waging a war against humanity. And then it was at the end of this arc where Cyclops is the last remaining Phoenix host, ends up killing Xavier. And then because of this, he went to jail, but he ended up getting freed because people saw him as a freedom fighter. But also, as a result, at the end of this Avengers vs. X-Men, Cyclops got what he wanted. When the Phoenix got defeated and got scattered across Earth, it restarted mutation. That's right. So mutants' population started going up again.
Yeah.
So this all leads to more of the recent. So Cyclops now is more of a badass, but more extreme. he creates X-Force, which is an elite team that will do what needs to be done that the frontal team can't be seen doing, like having to kill somebody or doing extreme things. So he assembles a team led by Wolverine of different mutants that have no qualm killing, and that's X-Force.
Is this the team that we see Wolverine in or Wolverine Origins?
No, that was Weapon X.
Oh, that was the Weapon X team.
Yeah. But
is it the team that we see Deadpool with in Deadpool 2?
No. Deadpool never really joins the X-Men. He always tries, but he can't really do it because he doesn't really work well in it as a team. No. But yeah, so all of these events happen. Wolverine ends up creating his own X-Men, his own school. There's the Jean Grey School for the Gifted, and Cyclops starts his own school, the Xavier School or whatever.
Yeah, they carry it on once he's gone.
That's right. Then this leads to the Secret Wars, and in the Secret Wars, this is when all the
Skrull.
No, not the Skrull.
The Kree.
I skipped all of that, because the X-Men weren't really involved. Like, even though I have this issue here of Civil War, they weren't really involved in Civil War because to them, Civil War was just another registration. You've been through the Mutant Registration Act.
Was it in here where a Skrull impersonated Wolverine?
Not in Civil War, but in the Secret Invasion, yes.
Ah, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the Secret War is the one where all the different realities started merging. This is the one that led to the all-new, all-different Marvel. This is the one where Miles Morales came from the Ultimate Universe into the regular universe.
I see.
And that big reboot that they did. So just before this, in this event, turns out Cyclops had an egg of the Phoenix Force, and he ends up taking that and absorbing the Phoenix Force back in him, so he becomes a Phoenix again, to face off against the threats of the invading universes. And in this story, Doctor Doom ends up getting the power of the Beyonder. And Cyclops with the Phoenix power faces off against Doctor Doom with the Beyonder powers. And he holds his own, but Doom ends up snapping his neck, killing Cyclops.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Now, there's another time where Earth's being invaded.
Mm-hmm.
And he's, through a bunch of different mutants using their abilities, channeling through Cyclops, he's able to channel good feelings, or the feeling of hope. I think he's able to channel the feeling of hope, and whatever alien invasion was coming, he channels all this hope at them, hitting them on their ships, and that's their fear. Yeah,
that was like back in that was an 80s story.
That was an old story where he is...
It's ridiculous. That's like...
Hope vision!
Yeah, well, because Xavier ends up using the positive thoughts of Earth, sends it to Jean Grey, who sends it to...
It was another mutant who kind of...
Oh, she sent it to Havoc, because Havoc was able to intensify it. Then he sent it to Cyclops, because Cyclops could shoot it out.
Yeah.
And Iceman was able to...
Cool it down,
and so it's more controlled. It's ridiculous.
All right, everyone! Use your fusion Ginyu Force dance.
Pretty much.
Everyone help.
Yeah. So all new, all different Marvel happened, and during this time was the big Marvel trying to get the movie rights of X-Men from Fox. So because Fox wouldn't give the X-Men rights to Marvel started to write out mutants and put more of a focus on the Inhumans.
I see.
Yeah. So this was the Terrigen Mist War, where the Terrigen Mist landed on Earth and turning a bunch of people into Inhumans. But this Terrigen Mist was toxic to mutants. So in this big reboot, Cyclops is alive again, but he ends up dying to the Terrigen Mist. And Emma Frost uses his death to psychically project himself, Cyclops, dying at the hands of Black Bolt, to perpetuate a war between the Inhumans and mutants. But that's not how he died. He died from the Terrigen Mist.
Right.
So
which was released by who though?
I don't.
The Inhumans.
I think even the Inhumans weren't responsible. Maybe a Inhuman was responsible,
right.
But not as a whole.
Now, is this the storyline we saw Easter eggs for in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
Yes.
That's what I figured.
Yes.
When they're releasing the Terrigen Mists everywhere.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
I like how they paid homage to that.
Yeah. So, Cyclops remains dead until a teenage version of Cable comes into the present and ends up using some Phoenix cage. I don't really understand this, but teenage Cable from the future without the techno-organic virus ends up using something to revive Cyclops' body, using the Phoenix Force to revive Cyclops' body. And even after the Phoenix Force leaves, Cyclops remains alive. So now Cyclops is alive.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So they used some shitty mulligan to bring him back.
That's right. And all of this time, I didn't even mention about the second Cyclops.
Yeah, there's a second Cyclops?
Yes. So when Cyclops was going all crazy, evil Magneto stuff.
Yeah. And
Beast had
X-Force.
And all that, yeah. Beast has the idea to go back in time and grab the original X-Men and bring him to the present so that Cyclops could see his old self to try and snap him back to realize that what he's doing, he's lost his way.
Oh,
but they end up getting stuck in the present time.
Now he brings the whole team forward, doesn't he?
That's right, the original. So, young Iceman, young Cyclops, young Jean, young Angel,
and
young
that's
Beast.
where we get the two Icemen.
That's right, and then the two Cyclops. And young Cyclops hates the current Cyclops, the present Cyclops.
He's
like, disgusted by him.
You.
They end up fighting, but obviously present Cyclops kicks his ass because he's way more powerful.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then eventually they end up going back to the past, back to their original past, and now there's only one Cyclops, and that's pretty much where they're at right now. That's up to present time Cyclops.
I think we talked about that a little bit in our Iceman episode.
Yes.
Okay.
So I had to rapid fire all of that because, like I said, there was a big domino effect of Cyclops' history. Like I couldn't really talk about Cyclops because there's been quite an evolution throughout the 70 years of his public...
63, what is it? 40...
So close to 60 years now?
57 years?
Yeah.
That's close to it.
Yeah. So
he's getting to be an old man.
Yeah, and he's evolved a lot over those years. He did not stay stagnant.
Well, he did not stay the Boy Scout.
No, he did not.
He twisted. Now, at one point, I believe he laid down his life.
Yes.
To inspire the future teams of other X-Men.
Yes.
He sacrificed himself as a symbol, a cause.
Yes.
To keep going forward.
Yes.
Now, I'm not sure at what point that is.
I'm not too sure either. I think that was when he fused himself with Apocalypse to save Nate Gray. Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't really touch on him in Apocalypse at all.
No, because I want to do an episode on Nate Gray. On Cable.
No, I mean Cyclops and Apocalypse. At one
point, I did mention that when you went upstairs.
Okay.
Because that was
at one point he was one of his.
Not even one of his horsemen. He became a host of Apocalypse.
Yeah.
He fused with Apocalypse.
Yeah.
And that's what gave him this evil taint.
Oh, that's what tainted him.
That's right. And then that started a wedge between him and Jean Grey, and that's when they started drifting apart, and that's when you start hooking up with Emma Frost.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Now, did we cover his powers?
So his powers is...
and how he controls them.
It's fucking ridiculous. So you see him shoot beams of energy out of his eyes, and you think they're lasers. And originally they were described as lasers.
Solar beams.
He absorbs solar energy from the sun and then refocuses as energy coming out of his eyes. But that got retconned because that didn't make any sense.
It should.
because he could only fire back as much as he has stored in him, which means he could run out of energy, which means he could lose his power.
Yeah, like every morning I'd wake up and go bzzz into the sky until I run out of juice, and I'm walk around without my glasses all day until laser beam start shooting out again.
That's
and then, all right, just drain my battery.
Yeah.
Like it'd be the opposite of our cell phone. He'd have to just empty his battery every morning.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm glad they retconned that back to optic rays.
Well, so they retconned it. This is the way that makes more sense. So his mutant power is actually his eyes are doorways to another dimension that has unlimited energy. So every time he opens his eyes, it opens a portal to this dimension, and his energy just shoots out of his eyes.
And his eyelids are basically mirrors, essentially keeping it in. So when his eyes are closed, he's good, he can hold it in. When he opens his eyes, that's why he needs his glasses and his visor, which are ruby quartz?
Yes.
Where do you find ruby quartz?
I'm not too sure. I don't even know how Xavier knew that ruby quartz could contain the energy, but Xavier knew.
Well, good on him.
Yeah.
Smart dude.
Yeah. And so because Cyclops is in his eyelids, he can't blast his own eyelids. Cyclops is immune to his own power. So
yes.
He could shoot himself and it won't hurt him. Same thing with his brother Alex. He could shoot Alex and it doesn't hurt Alex. Alex could shoot Scott and it doesn't hurt Scott. They have an immunity to each other's powers.
Vulcan does. He has immunity, but he can hurt them.
That's right.
Not?
That's right.
See, that's trippy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because he can manipulate their energies.
Yeah.
So that their energies would then hurt themselves. Essentially. Yeah. He could take Scott's mirror eye vision away, so he just burns his own eyes out.
Yeah.
His own eyelids, anyways. So then it's just perma beams.
Yeah.
I can't close my eyes. There's no more eyelids.
Yeah.
That'd be a dick move of his brother. Now, he controls his powers through his gloves. So if you ever see him firing off his rays, typically you'll see him clenching his hands.
Yes.
Now, it's because he has very sensitive little pressure plates and little buttons essentially in his gauntlets that he can use to control the range his beams shoot, the intensity, how big or how small.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. And also, when you think about like when Cyclops shoots his eye blasts, he could even make them reflect off of multiple surfaces to hit somebody from behind or from different angles and whatnot.
He's a master trigonometrist.
Yes. Yes.
So I would love to see who is it, him and
Hawkeye playing pool.
Yes. It'd be a good show.
Yeah. So, and he's also a master strategist. He's actually one-upped Captain America.
Yeah, he's pretty much up there in terms of leadership roles and, strategy.
Yeah. Yeah, he's outsmarted Captain America. He's beaten Wolverine on multiple accounts.
In one-on-one fights?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
What, did you just hit him with a laser?
Pretty much. Like, what's Wolverine going to do? Like, sure, Cyclops can't take out Wolverine, but what's Wolverine going to do to get to Cyclops? Oh, he's coming again. Oh, he's coming again.
Yeah. Yeah. What? Like, is there anything that his lasers reflect off or bounce off?
Not really.
The claws? No.
No. As a matter of fact, in Age of Apocalypse, Cyclops' optic blast
broke through
the adamantium and cut off his hand.
Left hand gone.
Yeah. Cyclops' optic blast is powerful enough to blast off the top of a mountain. He's used his optic blast to dig a hole through concrete, through like gravel and concrete and everything, just blasting downwards.
He's never let loose. He's never let loose his full ability, though. The closest he've ever come was when they had Juggernaut restrained and they needed to take his helmet off. He hit Juggernaut in the head, or in the helmet, with enough of a force to destroy a small planet.
Yeah.
But it did nothing to Juggernaut.
No.
Popped his helmet off.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah.
So that goes to show you, like, he's afraid to let loose.
Yes.
For good reason.
Yeah.
We don't really want him to.
No.
There goes Earth.
Yeah.
There goes the moon. There goes everything for, like, ever.
So, and normally when we're talking about these characters, I want to talk about how they've been depicted in other media. But honestly, just like Doctor Doom has never been done correctly, Cyclops has never been done correctly.
They tried more in the more recent lineup of the young kids, but even still, he's a pushover. He's still a nobody. I don't feel for the character like I should.
No.
They need to give him an origin story, though.
What's that?
They need to show his actual origin story of him, ripped from his parents, separated from his brother, crack in his head, growing up in an orphanage. They should show all that.
Yeah.
Make you feel for the character. Introduce... Because they could do an origin story easily and have Dr. Sinister as the villain. Yeah. And then the happy finish of the movie is Xavier.
Yeah.
It could be like the New Mutants. You know how they're in the whatever.
Asylum.
Yeah. Yeah. It could literally be him in the orphanage.
Yeah.
And he doesn't even need powers. They don't even need to
he doesn't have powers.
They don't need to make it a mutant movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So Fox doesn't even need to give away the rights.
Yeah. Well, no, Fox doesn't have the rights anymore. Disney has X-Men.
Perfect.
Disney owns Fox.
There we go. There you go. But, like, for example, that could be the thing. Yeah. It could be, this is Scott's origin story. Here, you could show another couple mutants' origin stories. Does Dr. Sinister even have Mr. Sinister even have powers?
Yes, he has many powers.
So you'd be able to just showcase him. And does he even have a main hero that he fights?
Cyclops. Mr. Sinister is heavily tied to Cyclops, Jean Grey, Cable, Apocalypse, and Gambit.
So you could intro Apocalypse and his interaction with Mr. Sinister. And you could have the whole origin movie for Cyclops be a setup for X-Men universe.
Mr. Sinister is also very important to Gambit's origin as well.
There you go, because you could show, all the kids and their different origins, and you could intro them, segue them through the movie. Like, just near the movie's wrapping up, you show Gambit, kid just in the swamps, and they show Rogue, whatever. Boom.
Yeah.
And it's just enough to make you interested for the next movie.
Yeah.
Of when Xavier takes them all in.
Yeah.
And then they go to the island. That could be a movie.
Yeah.
That should be the movie, because we haven't seen that. I don't even think we've seen that in the cartoons.
Directed by Joss Whedon.
Yeah, boom, done. I think it would work well. So do you have anything else that we need to cover for Cyclops here today?
Not really. You've seen him in the cartoon movies and the anime series was actually pretty good. He's kind of a badass in that one.
He's better.
Yes.
The 90s?
I think it was early 2000s.
Oh, that one. Oh, okay.
Yeah. They did a more recent one where it was all done in anime style.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Now, one thing we didn't mention is in later issues, he gets a different suit. Where he essentially has a visor that he can blast from his neck, his chest, different parts of his bodies. Yeah. So his laser powers, he can
his
project.
face is an X now.
Yeah, he can pretty much project from all over his body.
Yeah.
It's not just the eyes anymore, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
But that's way down the line, different suit.
More current as well.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So I think that wraps up everything for Cyclops today.
Yep.
Next week, we got Bowser squealing in the background. And we are doing Harley Quinn and, quote, Birds of Prey.
Yeah. So, let's define it. Are we doing Harley Quinn or are we doing Birds of Prey? Because they are not the same thing.
I think it's a Harley Quinn focus with a Birds of Prey throw in there because we're going to talk about.
Okay.
We're going to talk about all her origin story, her comic line, her animated lines, movie roles. Going into the Birds of Prey movie, we'll talk about some of the sidekicks, some of the movie. It'll be a split episode because, for those that don't know, Harley Quinn did not start in comics.
No.
So she'll be a quicker character to kind of catch up. She hasn't been around as long.
Yeah.
I think we'll have more to talk about covering the movie and her.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, so you guys got the rundown. We'll see you guys next Saturday at 8 p.m. for episode 7 of season 2. It'll be covering Harley Quinn and the Birds of Prey. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Justin.
I'm Mitch.
Take care, guys.
Cheers.